Welcome to the Irresistible You podcast. This is the place to get a dose of empowerment to create the life you crave and deserve. My name is Amy with 2 E's, and I am the CEO and founder of Irresistible University. Through my podcast and courses, I teach women just like you how to ditch the body image issues, gain confidence, and lose the emotional weight to look and feel irresistible at any size. Welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 235, and today we are talking about the unexpected emotional journey of weight loss. There are so many things, feelings, emotions, thoughts that come in this weight loss journey. And it's so much more, than what you're eating and how you're moving more. That is like such a small part of this process. And the real part of this process is the emotional side. And not talking about losing the emotional weight, although that could be wrapped up into some of this as well, but the feelings and the emotions that come while you're on this weight loss journey, which may feel unexpected. You may not be thinking about these things. So I want to draw attention to that today so that as you're on your journey, you can prepare yourself. You can do the work to know this might come up for me. And if this comes up for me, I have a plan and this is what I'm going to do. And I would love to hear from you guys if there are other things that I don't have on this list that we go through in the episode. I want you to share those with me. Share them over on Instagram. Share them down below in the comments if you were watching on YouTube, because I'm sure there's many other things that I just didn't think about, forgot about. Maybe I haven't personally gone through that. So please share those with me because I would love to hear what that looks like for you. But I think that these will resonate with many of you. So let's go ahead and get started. These are the unexpected emotions or the unexpected emotional journey that comes through your weight loss. So number 1, losing your fat friends. You're probably like, what? I don't mean like literal friends that are fat. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But what I mean by that is the people that you just, some of you have friends that the only thing you have in common is like pigging out and going out to eat and ordering everything, or, it's just all about food. And it's the stereotypical, let's go out to eat after our Weight Watchers weigh in. And completely go off the rails. Like, that's what I think about is the fat friend, right? The friends that you have only bonded over your love of food. And as you start to lose weight and you don't have this common activity of overeating with them anymore, and you realize there's nothing else in common with this person, and they're not liking the fact that I don't want to eat as much, or if I go out to eat with them, where before we were ordering multiple appetizers together, and now I don't want to do that because it's not on my plan and it's not in my journey for me, the relationship dynamic starts to change and it starts to shift, and you start to feel resentment from that person, or even like animosity, or they're annoyed, or they will use food pushing techniques, right? So for example, oh, you can have that. It's not going to hurt. It's just a little bit. You can do that today. Like, what's the big deal? They use that language. They push food, and they may even start to say negative things about your weight loss, or they somehow haven't noticed your weight loss, right? That's so typical. And they won't say anything about it. And this isn't just friends. This can be family members. So it can get a little dicey in terms of the dynamic, right? And how often you have to see this person. Maybe it's a coworker. And the point here being the relationship starts to change because you no longer have overeating in common. And that person starts to get defensive. That person starts to get insecure in the sense of like, you're making better choices, you're losing weight, you're looking better, you're getting healthier, and they feel abandoned. They feel left behind. So what you need to understand is when this happens and you have people who change because you're changing and they're not changing in a good way, that says everything about them and like nothing about you. Okay? So keep that in mind and don't make yourself small, meaning throwing your goals out the window, acting like it's not a big deal. Don't do that. Stand firm in your beliefs, stand firm in what your goals are, because that person, after you go and have your shared experience of, ordering everything on the menu, well, guess what? They're going home and you're going home and you still have to live your life. They don't have to live your life. They can't live your life for you. So that person doesn't get a say in that. And, sadly, this can even be in marriages and, romantic relationships as well. And from my opinion, if that is starting to happen, that is truly like an opportunity to reevaluate what that person means to you. Because if that person is supposed to love you unconditionally and they loved you at your highest weight and they loved you when you could overeat together and they're starting to act different, they're starting to be resentful, they're starting to be insecure, they're starting to be snippy about things, well, then you need to do some deeper work here, right? Like, that's not acceptable and that's not okay. And as you lose weight and you build your confidence back up, there might be some heavier things that you start to lose along the way, including people. And that's okay. Take out the trash, honey. Like, no, ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for unsupportive, rude, belittling people. Okay. But it hurts, right? That it's easy to flippantly just say that, like, take out the trash or whatever. But like, it hurts. It sucks. But people reveal themselves in times of change. And if people are that like pressed about your weight loss journey, girl, they got issues. They have a lot of emotional weight that they need to work on. So it hurts. It sucks. But relationship dynamics, losing relationships, they change. They do. It happens in this process. It's the weirdest thing. But you need to be surrounding yourself with other people that get it, with other people that care, with other people that are going to, support your goals and what you're trying to do. They don't have to change with you, but what they do need to do is be respectful and supportive of what you're trying to do. Okay. So that's number one. Number two, and I know I hear this all the time from my community, and I totally understand this because I've experienced this and I'm kind of experiencing it a little bit right now. And that is the fear of attention, right? I hate to say this because I believe that you can be confident and irresistible at any size. But there is some truth and some validity to the fact that when you are bigger, you feel invisible because to other people, a lot of other people, you are invisible, right? And there is some truth to once the weight starts falling off, it's like all of a sudden this invisibility shield like got lost and people, strangers, they start to smile at you. They start to open doors for you. They look at you. They stare at men. You receive that attention from the opposite sex or maybe the same sex. But you know what I'm saying? Like you start to get that sexual attention. And that can feel very vulnerable. That can feel very awkward. That can feel very scary, especially if you have been in a bigger body for a long time and you've used that bigger body to, make yourself invisible, make yourself, play smaller in the world, make yourself, in your way, like feel protected, I guess. And when the weight starts to come off and people start noticing you, and it's like funny to me because, I'm nowhere near my goal weight, but I've definitely noticed this recently. And I'm going to talk about this in another bullet point here, but also the inner thoughts of like, why is that person staring at me? Oh my God, I must look so big today. They must see all this, like they must really see my gut or my fat rolls. That's the disconnect in our brain, right? And we don't possibly think, oh, well, maybe they're looking at me because I actually look really good today, right? Like, so this fear of attention, and it's sad, but it is the reality. Like, I know at my biggest size, you get treated differently by strangers. You get treated differently by just people, and the way doctors treat you. Let's talk about that. How if you come in with an ailment that has nothing to do with weight, the doctor, they are so much more likely to try to relate it and attach it back to you being overweight or obese. Am I right? Like, I remember after Javi was born and I was having problems with my vision. Like, my vision kept getting very blurry and it didn't make any sense, right? To the point, and I was having extreme migraines and all of that too. And to the point where I went into, y'all like my blanket? Y'all on YouTube, I love this blanket. It has, y'all know I love my crystal balls and stuff, and you can see my little crystals back here. Anyway, I digress. I do get sidetracked. But what I was saying is, I went to the neurologist because of these headaches and the vision and everything like that. And he was an asshole from the very start. He was old and, stereotypical things and old school thinking. And he said, well, how much weight did you gain during your pregnancy? And I didn't even know in my mind, like, are you fucking kidding me? Is this really where we're going with this? I said, I gained about 70 pounds. Wow, that's a lot. Yeah, this motherfucker had the nerve to say that to me, okay? Yeah, me gaining weight has everything to do with my migraines and my vision problems. But my point being, if I would have come in there like a skinny person who didn't gain any weight during pregnancy, or I put on the plus 15, this dude would have never even gone there with me, right? He probably would have been a pervert, to be honest, right? But the amount of times that I have had that prejudice from doctors about weight, it just is what it is. I even had a manager back in the day, right? When I was a travel agent, she was the devil wears Prada. She was evil, okay? And I was a travel agent. I cannot stress that to you enough. I was a travel agent. I sat at a desk, and the general public came in and sat at my desk and asked me for my expertise and to help them plan their vacations, okay? And I was really good at what I did. Well, when I went to Vegas, I got this shirt and it had the Vegas skyline and it was sparkle. You know me, it had glitter and sparkles. Girl, it was over the top, but it was not cleavage showing. It was not, nothing about it was inappropriate. It was just a very like Las Vegas, right? And I wore that with a blazer because we had business casual. So I had a blazer and slacks, and she had the nerve to pull me aside and say, yeah, I don't really know about that shirt. Like this whole Vegas. She did this whole like exaggerated, like across the boobs, like, this whole Vegas across the chest. Yeah, I don't know. She was such a bitch. Such a bitch. Like, she was one of the worst human beings I've ever encountered in my life. And always was on me about what I was wearing, always had something to say. She sent me home once. I had a maxi dress on, a long dress with a cardigan in the summer, and she sent me home for not wearing pantyhose. Like, what? What? So my point, she was always on me, always had something to say, and I dressed very conservatively. Like, it was a business casual environment. It was an office environment, right? Like, I used to have business suits. I don't wear business suits. I don't know that was probably the last time in my life I wore stuff like that. Because I even remember when I went to my interview for the next travel company that I worked for, that I worked there for quite a while. And in the interview, they were like, you don't have to dress like this here. It's a lot more casual. I was so relieved by that. I was like, I need to be here. And it was great. So anyway, the point of this is people treat you differently when you're bigger. They just do. The looks that you get walking down the aisle on the airplane, where people are looking at you like, oh, I hope she's not sitting next to me. I swear to God, this is what they do. I know if you've been through this, you feel me. They look at you like, oh God, please don't come in, and you're trying not to hit people with your hips and stuff. And like, it's just different. It's different. So when that physical weight comes off and people all of a sudden can see you, it's like, fuck you. I've been standing here the whole time. How dare you treat me like that? How dare you act like I don't exist, right? People are dicks. This is what they do. So that fear of attention is very real. It is not made up. You are not crazy. You are feeling very vulnerable because all of a sudden now you feel very like just exposed, right? And people will say, well, the reason that happened is because when you were super overweight, you didn't have confidence or you didn't look very nice. No, I have the same resting bitch face at Walmart now that I had at 270 pounds. I have always had the same resting bitch face when I'm shopping. And no, sir, I don't need you telling me you should smile. You can stick that up your ass. No, thank you. So people can say what they want, but I've experienced it, I've lived it, and I know people treat you different, period. So when you're starting to feel this, you're not alone. It does feel scary, and you have to take baby steps. Maybe, as we start to lose weight and we need to buy new clothes and we're hiding behind bigger clothes because we don't feel comfortable in things that show off our curves or show off our figure. Take baby steps, right? Take baby steps. Start with the bodysuit under a cardigan. Start with the bodysuit and jeans under a blazer, right? So where you're wearing more form-fitting, but you also have like that comfort, that security blanket, so to speak. You have to take baby steps into it. And doing the inner work of not convincing, but telling yourself that other people's opinions don't matter. Right? They don't matter. What matters is how I see myself and how I show up for myself. But it's very real, fear of attention. Okay, let's talk about the body image disconnect, the body dysmorphia, the body image dissonance, however you want to word that. What I'm talking about here is seeing yourself as your new self, right? Disconnecting from the obese, overweight version of yourself. That is really hard, right? Where in your mind is very powerful. In your mind, you are still the highest weight. In your mind, you don't deserve to shop for things because you're still overweight, or you don't shop for things because you think they don't have my size and I don't want to be humiliated in the store. Been there, done that, right? Or you take a picture and you see the picture and you're like, oh, that's me? Like, and you're pleasantly surprised, right? Because you're thinking, there's no way. Like, you still see the highest weight in your brain. And this, I think, is especially true as you're coming down the scale and you're not completely at your goal weight, but you've lost a significant amount of weight so that you look different and you've kind of come out of really the obese category, and now you're just kind of like in that overweight, a little bit chubby category, because you think to yourself, well, I'm not thin, I'm not skinny, so like I can't be like excited or surprised that I look different, right? It's a weird place to be, but it is very real. It happens. And what I would say to you, if you're experiencing this misalignment, right, where in your brain, I'll use my examples just because I'm me and I'm not you, but like in my brain, I will still see the 270-pound version of me, okay? And then I take a picture or I look in the mirror and it's not 270 pounds. It's shocking. It is just surreal. And I think we don't see ourselves all the time, right? We're not constantly looking at ourselves. We're not constantly like in the mirror taking pictures, right? So my technique that really helps with this is getting yourself in front of the camera, taking pictures of yourself. You don't have to post them. You don't have to share them, but like take video, full body video, pictures, whatever, of yourself so that you get to know that version quicker and you're not shocked every single time, because you have probably spent an insane amount of time avoiding the camera, avoiding being seen, avoiding being in the frame, avoiding being in the photo, avoiding living life. You've been back here on the sidelines. And so you have to get comfortable knowing your new self. Seeing yourself in pictures, seeing yourself in video, looking in the mirror, because you've probably been avoiding the mirror. Like, how many times have you done the thing where you get undressed to take a shower, you're so disgusted with it, everything starts flipping and falling down when the clothes come off? Am I right? You know, everything's popping out of place because the shapewear is gone, the clothes are gone, and you are just running past the mirror, like trying, like you're cringing when you see a glimpse of yourself in the mirror. So you just get your ass in the shower as quick as possible, get yourself out, cringing past the mirror again, getting your clothes back on as fast as humanly possible. That is probably how you've been spending a lot of your time. And so there is a disconnect. You don't recognize yourself because you've been avoiding yourself for so long. So your brain needs to catch up to your weight loss as well. Okay? So do that. Get in the mirror more. Look at yourself. Take pictures. Take those videos. It's going to help. And take the pressure. You don't share these. These could just be for you, that's helping you on your self-love journey to your irresistible you journey. Okay? Okay. Number 4. I have talked about this on the podcast for years. Thanks, but. The thanks, but. We call it the thanks, but. You start losing weight, people start showing attention, people start noticing, they start saying, oh my God, what have you been doing? I noticed you've lost weight, or you look really good, this and that. And that looks really good on you. And you don't believe them. You don't believe them because of what we just talked about, the feeling invisible, the body image disconnect, right? So you say to them, oh, thank you, but I'm not quite there yet. Thanks, but I got a ways to go. Thanks, but I still got like 40 pounds to lose. Not where I want to be yet. Like we belittle the compliment because we don't believe they could actually believe that about us, because we don't believe it, right? So that is actually belittling the person who is taking the time to give you a compliment. And I'm talking about genuine, real compliments, not the beginning part where we talked about the friends that make snide comments. Oh, wow, you're losing weight. Not those people, okay? The genuine things. Like when you say that to them, you're telling them, no, you're not, that's not true. You're lying, right? We need to accept the feedback and say thank you. The answer is thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so excited that you noticed. I've been working really hard, right? We need to get rid of the thanks but. We don't need a thanks but, okay? And as you do the work we've talked about, right? Getting comfortable being seen by others, getting comfortable being seen by yourself, having yourself catch up to your weight loss mentally, it will become easier to accept those compliments. And you just start out by saying thank you, right? We don't need to make they must be crazy, right? That person is giving you a compliment because they truly mean it. You know what I mean? Like, they mean it. And so I know there's a lot of talk out here about what not to say and what to say to people, like never mention people's weight if they're losing weight. And maybe for you, that's true. Like, you don't want people to notice and you don't want people to say things. And that's a boundary that you can create. Girl, like, if you notice I lost weight, I will not be mad at that. I will never be mad if you say to me, wow, you're losing weight. You look really good. I will never be mad about that. Like, bring it on. Like, because it's also justifies, like, not that we need validation from others, but it does help when we hear, like, we must be doing good. We must be losing weight because other people are noticing it, because we don't notice it. Back to what I just talked about, when, like, you don't believe that you've lost any weight. And then you see someone and they can tell immediately, right? It's a little bit of justification of like, okay, whatever I'm doing is working. Now I need to believe it as well. I need to believe that I do look good, and I can look good. I can still have weight to lose and look good. Those two things can exist at the same time. And that's your old conditioning of like, well, I can't possibly look good unless I'm skinny and at my goal weight. That's a misconception that you've got to work on, that you get to look good no matter what weight you're at, right? Okay. That's number 4. Number 5. Okay. Number 5. One of these other like unexpected emotional things that come up. And that is turning your hatred, turning your disgust of your old fat self into compassion, right? How many times do we see our before photo, right? Or we see ourselves at our highest weight and go, never again. That was disgusting. I look so gross. I cannot believe I let myself go. And you just berate yourself and beat yourself up and say all kinds of nasty things. And so you have this hatred, this like utter disgust, honestly, of that version of yourself. You don't have to love that version of yourself. You don't have to be happy about. I'm not happy when I see that version. But what I've worked hard to do is to change my disgust into compassion and say, wow, that version of me must have really been going through it. That whatever she was going through, she didn't know how to process it. So she was doing the only thing she knew to do to cope, which was overeating and emotional eating. And having more and compassion of like, wow, that version of me had no idea there was a different way to lose weight. That version of me had no idea that I didn't have to hate myself down the scale, right? So having compassion for your former self is really important, because every single stage of your weight loss journey has contributed to where you are today, right? Even if it was gaining weight again, it has contributed to where you are today, how you see things, how you view things. And so it's really, really important to move from disgust to compassion, because you can't get to your goal and get down the scale and get to your goal weight and have true self-love if there's a part of your journey where you hate yourself. That person is still you. It was just a different version of you. So that's really, really important. We can look at the before photo. We can compare the before photo. But when we do that, let's do it from a place of compassion and understanding and not having pure disgust. Super important stuff. Okay, number 6, I call it the lingering fear, the lingering fat fears. Okay, what do I mean? I mean and I have an episode way back in the day called Fat Girl Trauma. And this is fat girl trauma of ongoing fears that we have from our highest weight limits, seats, things like that. So when we were at our highest weight, maybe we were over the weight limit for certain activities, right? I know for me, I have several stories like this. Like even in high school when I wasn't even that big, I was like a size 13. Guys, 13, okay? Maybe an 11 on a good day. And I was at the Jubilee. It's like this local carnival thing. And I got on one of those like swirly rides where it goes really fast. I don't know what they're called. And I liked sitting on the inside at the time because it would hurt I had a rib from a car accident. Like it hurt really bad from like years ago. And this disgusting carnival man looks at me, doesn't talk to me like a human, points at the sign that says larger people on the outside. Larger people to the outside as I'm with my skinny friends, right? And that was at like 15, 16 years old. Like, so to this day, when I see one of those rides, I get like, oh God, right? And of course, if I'm with my kids, I'm sitting on the outside, obviously. But like, I would still think like, oh no, I have to be on the outside if like, say I'm riding with my husband or something like that. It just does something to you and it stays with you unless you work on it. And even when you work on it, you still have those memories, right? Those lingering fears are still there. Or the weight limit thing, right? I've shared the kayak story with you guys before about like shopping for kayaks, and I didn't want a clerk to come over and help me because I thought he would say, well, you're a little too big. And I had lost a significant amount of weight at the time when I bought my kayak. But those lingering fat fears of, am I going to fit in the chair? Right? I can remember sitting, I forget what chair was it. I think it was a rocking chair, like a front porch rocking chair. I would get up and it was, I mean, it's funny, but it wasn't funny at the time. I would stand up and the rocking chair was attached to my ass. Like literally attached to my ass. Like trauma, fat girl trauma. Okay. So it's like that thought of, oh my God, if I sit here, am I going to break this chair? Is it going to be big enough? Is it wide enough? Is there a weight limit? Is someone going to say something to me? Because if they do, it would be devastating. That's the thought, right? Because it's happened before. It's not that it hasn't happened, because it has. I still find myself Googling weight limits. It's like a conditioning, right? It's almost like, oh, okay, good, right? So understand, again, all of these feelings, all of these emotions, people don't talk about this. Like people don't talk about this part of weight loss. They don't. And I want to validate that it's all real. It is all valid. And you are not crazy. Okay. The lingering fat fears, you've got to, it's just like all the things we've been talking about, working on your confidence, working on the emotional weight, working on seeing yourself for who you are now, not who you used to be, will start to reduce those fears. And if it makes you comfortable to Google the weight limit of horseback riding or wherever you're going, then by all means do it. Do it. But then tell yourself, no one's going to say anything to me. And the worst thing they could do is say something, then we have another issue. And I'm going to address that with that person. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it can feel very scary. It can feel very scary because there is so much trauma wrapped up in being fat and overweight. Like, that stuff people don't talk about. They don't talk about it. Okay, let's see. Number seven, loose skin and body composition. When you lose weight and you've been super overweight, and the older you lose weight, you know this will definitely come up as well. There is going to be most likely loose skin. And your body composition may have also changed, right? You may be carrying weight in different places or different levels of muscle or whatever, depending on how you're working out. And those physical changes, so you're seeing yourself working your ass off, seeing yourself losing the weight, and then you're like, well, what's the point? When I take off my clothes, there's all this loose skin and I'm disgusted by it. And it's a reminder of, you fucking did this to yourself, bitch. Like that inner fat bitch is like, you fucking did this to yourself. What do you, like, look at you. Look at you. You abused yourself with food so much that you stretched out your skin, you got stretch marks, and now you have loose hanging skin on your body. Look at you. Like, that's what goes through your head, right? And it makes you feel like the achievement that I have of losing this weight means nothing because my body still looks disgusting. And I think this all feeds back into the body like disconnect or the compliments as well, because when someone is complimenting me, I've been in that situation where I'm like, oh Lord, if you could see me naked, you would not be saying that. Like, you would not be saying that, because if you saw all this loose skin, you would not think I look good. And so then in your brain, you're like, there's no way I look good because I don't think I look good without my clothes on or even with my clothes on. But loose skin is a very real thing. It is a very valid concern. And it is a physical reminder. And there's things we can do, right? We can do the mental work, the emotional work to change our thoughts and our feelings about that, okay? We can do physical work. We can lift weights. We can tone up. We can, sometimes it just isn't going to go away. There's surgical options that may not be in the cards for everyone, and that's okay. And no matter what you're able to do, you have to start with the mental piece. You have to start with the mental piece to be like, yeah, this is a reminder of how much weight I have lost, but look how much weight I lost and look how much healthier I am. Look what I can do now. Would you rather have the loose skin and be in a body that's healthy, that can move around and do things? Or would you rather not have loose skin and be so overweight you can barely walk up the stairs? So it's like, yeah, it sucks. Like, let's just acknowledge that it sucks. I hate it. It sucks. But look at what you've gone through. Look how far you've come. Okay? And it's okay. It's going to be okay. All right? So, but know that as you lose weight, this is why we have to learn how to love ourselves down the scale. Because your body, as it loses weight, it will also be changing in ways that you love, and also changing in ways like loose skin that you don't necessarily are very excited about, right? So we have to acknowledge it. We don't have to accept it, but we have to acknowledge it, and we have to do the mental, emotional work to cope with it and not beat ourselves up about it. Okay. All right. So number eight is breaking up with the fat girl identity, the inner fat girl identity. This is the psychological process that you need to go through to let go of that identity of what it was to be overweight. And so much is wrapped up into this. Like, this can be a whole episode. I think I've even done an episode about this. And fat girl trauma was also another one that is very much what I'm talking about here. Your identity for so long, maybe forever, has been the fat girl. You've been called the fat girl. You're the fat friend. You're the token fat friend always. You're the funny one because you have to deflect from the weight, right? Or you're the super stylish one even because you have to deflect from the weight. Like, I am still cute even though I'm fat. You have this identity. And I think everything we talked about today is wrapped up into that, right? Like, unwrapping and unraveling the weight limit stuff, the invisibility stuff, like, because as that fat girl, you took on this identity that you were invisible, that you didn't matter, that you can't take up space, that you have to play small, that you have to stay quiet, that you don't get to wear cute things, that you don't get to have what everybody else has, like, whatever it is. There's so many ways that fat girl trauma will manifest in our life. And you've got to unravel that and break up with the inner fat girl identity and come up with the new version of you. And I don't suggest doing this when you get to goal weight. I suggest doing this before you even start. If you already started, if you're already at goal weight, you can start now. But for those of you that haven't started or you're in the very beginning stages of a weight loss journey, you need to work on this now. You need to work on this now because we cannot, it's going to make it so much easier moving down the scale to drop the disgust, to drop all these things that we're talking about. And not just, you can't just do it when you get to your goal. It doesn't work that way. It's not healthy to do it that way. And decide, I know in my course, like one of the things we do at the very beginning is like, who do you want to be? Like, what does that version of you look like? If you weren't obsessed with weight, if you weren't worried about what you look like, if you weren't, what would you do? What would you be? What would you act like? What would you say? So you've got to rebuild your self-identity because you are just so interconnected into that. And there's so many things about it, like the way that you show up. It's not just the weight. I don't know how much I can stress that. Like, it's not just the weight. Taking on the inner fat girl identity shows itself in how you do everything, on how you speak at meetings, at how you don't speak at meetings, at how you interview, at how you go after your dreams, at how you interact with strangers at the store, how you show up for your children. It is manifesting into every crevice of your life. And that is why it's so important. It's not important, oh my God, I got to get to this number on the scale and I have to lose the weight. What's even more important is shedding this emotional weight so that you can create a new identity of who you're really supposed to be, so that you are showing up in the world for yourself, for others, the way you're meant to. Because right now you're not. Okay, number nine is the post-weight loss letdown. The emotional letdown. And this is when, let's say, you've lost all your weight, you've got to your goal, you're now in maintenance, and the new car smell has worn off. People are no longer noticing that you have lost weight because this is just who you are now. There's not these new achievements every week. Oh, I lost a pound. Oh, I got to 10 pounds. Oh, I got this milestone. Things are just kind of becoming the way life is. It's like the anticlimax, right? Where it's an emotional letdown, where it's not exciting anymore. It just is now part of who you are and what you do. But this is very real. And also, when you have wrapped your fat girl identity into your successes being the weight coming off, and now that's not happening anymore, now you're not getting that validation, and you don't have any other areas of your life where you're getting that validation. And so it really is, it is a letdown. It is like the lights went off, the crowds went home, the balloons deflated, and you're now here left to deal with yourself, right? And this is a reason why we have to have goals outside of weight, right? As you go down the scale, so that, I think at any point you're going to have a little bit of this anyway. But if you really work on yourself and you start to get to your goal weight, it's just kind of like, oh, I arrived. I'm here. It's not shocking. It's not like, because you've woven in these things, these lifestyle habits, these ways of thinking into your daily life, that once you get there, you're there. So it's not like this new drastic thing. So you don't have that like super, super like big letdown that can happen, right? And also knowing that you can't get your validation from weight loss. You cannot get your self-worth from weight loss. You have to find other ways to feed your soul. That's one of the guiding principles in Irresistible You, is feed your soul. Losing weight is not feeding your soul. You need to find things that fill you up, that you enjoy, that you want to do, that you look forward to. Because once the weight's gone, you won't have that anymore. right? And so you don't want to feel this dramatic letdown of when the weight comes off. It's like, what do I do now? You've got to have different goals and motivations beyond the scale. Always. Always. Okay. Number 10, I don't know how I want to word this, but number 10 is when you have lost your weight. Maybe not all of it, maybe some of it, maybe all, who knows, but you're losing weight. And especially if you're doing the Irresistible You framework, right? You are building confidence in the meantime. Like you're losing emotional weight, but you're building confidence. And because of that, you are showing up more. You're playing bigger. You're being louder. You're taking up space. And sometimes people got a problem with that. Oh, look at you. Too big for your britches, huh? Look at you. Oh, she thinks she's all that now because she lost all that weight. Like the hater stuff, like you've got to let other people's opinions just fall off. Stop worrying about people thinking that stuff about you. Because like I said before, they're not going to live life for you. You're not living life for them. You have to do what's right for you. And if you're not changing, then that's a problem, right? And people don't like change. They don't like it. So learning how to be okay with this change. This change is good. This change is good for so many reasons, right? So learning how to be okay with what people might say. Who cares? Honestly, like who cares? Like the people that are for you are going to be for you. And like I said at the very beginning of number 1, like letting go of the fat friends, the people that are not for you will be revealed anytime you have change in your life. And I mean positive or negative. If you have a traumatic situation, you will find out who's riding for you or not. You will find out who's going to be there for you. If you have something happen to you, good or bad, pregnancies, weddings, storms, hurricanes, medical issues, and people don't show up and they ignore you or they act like you don't exist or they have something smart to say, they reveal themselves. Thank you. Thank you for that. Like, be appreciative of that. Be grateful for that because you don't need that in your life. You cannot worry about what other people are going to think about you. You've been spending too much time in your life already doing that. So you have to live life unapologetically. Live unapologetically. Like, be you. Take up space. Be louder. Raise your voice. Use your voice. And do what you were put on this earth to do. Like, live in your purpose. Live in your purpose. So yeah, that's just 10 things. Like, that was 10 things. And these will all be summarized in the show notes and the blog post. But I know there's things that I've missed, that I've even forgotten about myself, or things that maybe you have gone through that I didn't think about. I would love for you to leave that down in the comments. If you're on YouTube, if you're not on YouTube and you're listening to the audio version, please message me over on Instagram at Irresistible Icing. And let's talk about it, because I know, like, this is just the stuff that is not talked about enough, but it's such a big part of this journey. And in diet culture, all we hear about is eat less, move more, do the detox, do the keto, do this. They don't talk about the emotional side. They don't talk about the shift in relationships with yourself, with other people. They don't talk about that. But it's a very real part of the process. And if you can work through these things, you are more likely to keep your weight off for the rest of your life. You are more likely to be losing weight for the last time, because you're building habits that you're going to have forever. And by habits, I mean the way that we talk to ourselves, the way that we think, the way that we treat ourselves. That's what matters. That's what matters, because it's your feelings and your emotions and not knowing how to handle them got you into this to begin with. That is probably what got you to gain your weight. Okay. I am going to end the episode here. I appreciate you listening. If you are here to the end, I very much appreciate that. I would also love if you can leave a rating and review on your podcast player. My podcast player of choice is Amazon Music. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you have free access. It's a separate app. You have to download it, but there are millions of songs, albums, podcasts. This is what I listen to in the car, at home. If you're not a Prime member, get a free trial down in the show notes. There is a link to that. And I'm going to catch you guys in the next episode. Until then, stay irresistible. Bye, guys.